Hello and welcome. Today in this video I am going to show you the new features in LayNii IDA that we have released together with LayNii version 2.10. So if you go to our GitHub page, LayNii, and navigate to releases, you will see that we have recently published the LayNii version 2.10. And if you look at the details of the notes, you can also see that together with LayNii 2.10, we have published LayNii IDA's new version, that is version 0.2.0. And to use LayNii IDA, you can download the following zip file. You download this. Once the zip file is downloaded, you can unzip it by double-clicking on it, and then try to execute LayNii IDA directly by double-clicking on it again. In this case, you might encounter the following message. Mac can tell you that it is not going to be opened. So in this case, do not do anything. Just press done and go to the system settings and navigate to privacy and security here. And when you scroll down, you will see that your last action, which was opening LayNii IDA, is now reported here. And here you can say open anyway. Okay, let's click on it. And once you follow these steps, you will finally be able to open LayNii IDA. And now I can show you the new features in LayNii IDA's new version. Okay, first let's load a file that I have prepared here, for instance, this one. And what I do is that I would like to copy the complete path. So I do Command Option C to copy. And I do Command V to paste the whole path. You can see that this is an absolute path that goes from users, Farouk, and so forth. We can do add and load data. Okay, now the data is now loaded. We can see the images. This data is actually from one of my collaborators from Berkeley, Sylvia Banja's lab. Okay, so let's have a look at what's new in LayNii IDA. You can, of course, zoom in and out. You can change the slices. You can click around. These are all the same. But what is new is actually this little window, quality controls. You can see that there are more buttons here. So for instance, let's zoom in a bit. And let's remember that there is a keyboard, mouse, and controls menu that we can see how to quickly control some of the movements or navigation options. For instance, if we press Z and X, we can just move across time courses. And I selected this data set specifically because due to some acquisition decisions, this data is acquired at every volume with an opposite readout polarity. So you are going to see this strong fluctuation. Okay, now let's see the new quality control options. For instance, first one, the time mean. It just quickly averages your data across time. Useful to just have a look at in general. Oh, and I forgot to tell, but this is the motion corrected and high pass filtered data. So this is minimally processed data that came from a 7T scanner at 0.85 millimeter isotropic resolution, whole brain, as you can see here. Okay, then the other options quickly. The temporal standard deviation, you can see it in real time computes you the standard deviation map voxel wise, and you can already detect some maybe more artifact prone areas just by looking at it. So this whole menu is inspired by one of Renzo's old posts in layerfMRI.com. For instance, here I can show you quickly the post, layerfMRI.com, the date and the QA, quality assurance measures for layerfMRI time series. Many people actually refer to this post again and again, and when they are piloting new data sets and trying different parameters, they actually compute some of the metrics that are proposed here, like TSNR, autocorrelation, and skewness, and so forth. So if you are interested, you can read more in detail. But basically what I did was I scanned through this page and implemented most of the metrics here into LayNii IDA for just making it more convenient for everyone who is day-to-day collecting new data and trying to optimize their protocols. So here, basically, I'm showing that what you can do is that you can plug in your fMRI data, and without running anything beforehand, just on the data itself, you can quickly switch between different quality control metrics like skewness, kurtosis, autocorrelation. We might expand it a bit more in the future, but I thought this was good enough for a new release of LayNii IDA. And I also try to concisely mention how these metrics should be interpreted. For instance, what happens when one metric is high versus low, which one indicates better data or worse data. I try to put some of these tips quickly in the help menu here. When you hover over the buttons, you are going to see this description of the quality control metric and how you can judge your data based on some tips given here. Okay, the second feature of LayNii IDA is actually something very exciting for me because I finally get around to do that. Now let me add a new data set here in which I was trying some of the new LayNii programs, for instance, despiking and Frisco. And it is important that when you, of course, every time manipulate your data, you need to go back and check what has changed in your data based on the manipulation that you have done, maybe high pass filtering, maybe despiking. And for instance, let's see here. These are two of the same data sets, but the second one is processed a bit further. Okay, here, what we can do in the new LayNii IDA version is that if I disable the quality control tools and pay attention that I am moving this slice around, zooming in a bit, and now I can just switch to the second run. You can see that the visual is perfectly synchronized. And this will be the case whenever you load a data set that has the same dimensions, image dimensions, X, Y, Z dimensions, and T dimension. It will automatically synchronize where it is in the screen. So you can quickly switch between data sets and compare how they look. For instance, in combination with the quality control tools, you can, let's say, click on TSNR in one of them. And let's go to the second one and also click TSNR. And now I can directly compare before and after some of the processing steps, how the TSNR changes. For instance, from the first image to the second one where I did this spiking and this Frisco mitigation that I'm not going into details in this video, you can see TSNR has increased and maybe some artifacts has decreased. Let's have a look at here. Maybe let's switch to skewness. And skewness, you see like the pattern that was there, and maybe in this here skull has vanished due to our choices in the pre-processing. Similar we can do with kurtosis, just to show you. Here, these dark areas might they are indicative of some artifacts, let's say, and after pre-processing, those areas are appearing differently. Okay, now let me switch to another example use case of these new features, and that is the multi-echo datasets. For instance, let's load this multi-echo anatomical dataset here. Okay, I'm again like copying the whole path using Command Option C and then pasting in this little text box with Command V. So this dataset is around 7 gigabytes, so it will take a little bit longer to load. So once this dataset is loaded, pay attention that this is a pre-processed dataset that is at 0.175 millimeter isotropic resolution, originally acquired at 0.35 millimeter isotropic resolution. And here you can see that we have 3 time points. These are different echo times for this anatomical image. And of course, maybe some of these metrics doesn't make sense, but I can quickly click on this t-mean to get an average echo image. So this is quite handy. I am working quite a lot with multi-echo anatomical data, so just being able to load them here and then click on this t-mean is rather convenient for me to judge some of these datasets. Okay, the last feature is something that I want to show on a dataset that shows very strong task-related activity. And for that, I have went and gathered data from the Kensho dataset with the checkerboard stimulation, 30-second on, 30-second off. This is very simple block design. And thanks to that, we can very easily see nice block design behavior in the time series. You can see on the lower right hand side there. And of course, we can now enable the one of the coolest features of LayNii IDA, that is the real-time correlations. And then we can immediately highlight those periodic patterns that we can pick up from the 30-second on and off checkerboard watching task. Checkerboard watching and finger tapping at the same time. So we should see some motor cortex activity as well, as you see here. So okay, notice that the first time point is very high. Some reason it's an outlier, and this can happen depending on the acquisition details. And there's a very easy way to just mitigate that. You can increase your onset arbitrarily, actually, see. And then it in real time recomputes the whatever metric or map you are measuring based on just discarding those time points. Like I can remove some from the beginning, remove some from the end. This like removing end from the future is good for people who do Nordic denoising that acquire extra noise volumes at the end of their time courses. And of course, if you are very quick to have a look at your data, you might want to just uh, ignore those last time points by changing this offset parameter. Okay, now how does this interact with the quality controls? So in the new LayNii IDA version, you can actually immediately also switch the quality control button. For instance, we can have a look at the TSNR map underneath, and on top we can play along with this correlation map that is computed in real time. So this also can give you some insight with regards to how these quality assurance metrics, being high or low in different metrics, can play along with the strong regional correlations that you are observing or some task activity that you are observing. And of course, at the same time, just to show you, we can disable the correlations and, for instance, look at the TSNR metric and just cut our number of samples from around 70 to 20s and 30s, then you immediately see the effect on the TSNR map. See? Or let's do it with the kurtosis. This is the full data set. This is the cropped data set. And similarly, in the data set that I have shown you at the beginning of the video, we can do the same. You see, these are all computed in real time, so you can build your intuition based on these metrics, how you judge the data, and what would happen if you had half of the data, for instance. Okay, that's it for today. See you in the next LayNii IDA video, and have a nice day.